gentlemen, welcome to the Monday Night Live Stream. That music is brought to you courtesy of Like a Rug. Like a Rug. I'm going to put the link down here, and there's a reason we're starting off with that. First off, hello everybody. I see some familiar faces in the chat. We got Terry, John, Davy Jones, Eric Stark, Video Spell, Monster Montage. You were on my mind lately because I was thinking Halloween music. Davin S. DDA saying he can't make it. DDA, thank you for dropping in. Thank you for saying hello. Greetings to you too and your allergenic season. I am impervious to all seasonal allergies. It's one of those blessings that I was given. So I cannot empathize. I have other, I have food sensitivity sometimes, but definitely not seasonal allergies. Jay is in here as well. So hello, everybody. So I wanted to start off right away. That band that we just heard, Like a Rug, that was some punk rock, right? That was a song I just finished producing for some local kids, some former students of mine. They got no money. They wanted to record some music. I love these kids. So we just produced that song. We started it right after I finished my course because I told them I can't do anything until I finish my course. So once December came around and I got finished with that, I said, come on in, we'll start working on this track. And we did the guitars, and then we did the drums somewhere else, and the kid didn't do the drums that well, so I said, you got to go back and redo the drums. And then they came and did the vocals. Long story short, it's March now, April, and we finally finished up because there was like 3 months of silence there in between where we didn't get anything done. And I think that song has energy. If you listen to that, listen back to that intro or listen to, that YouTube video that I just linked right there. That has energy. It's a punk song. I wouldn't say it's lifeless. I wouldn't say it's dead. I wouldn't say all the life was sucked out of it, okay? And the reason I'm saying those things is because that was recorded to a click track. And that gets right into the first comment question that I want to talk about, which is from Aaron Sheeman. Aaron said, by the way, having listened to the last stream regarding click tracks, Rick Beato and Bobby Huff have both made videos recently about how it takes the life out of a performance. Now, here's where I'm getting informed. Here's where it's all making sense to me now. The examples they are using are the rubato parts of Van Halen or Led Zeppelin, and they squash it to a grid to show how it doesn't breathe anymore. Another example they will use is taking a performance that is in the pocket that might be lagging a bit for feel and then quantizing it to show how it's more robotic. I think the commenters are just parroting the video themes. Well, in this case, it makes complete sense to me why somebody would say, you're sucking the life out of music if you're quantizing an actual performance to the grid. I would agree. I would never take a performance that is not on the grid and then just quantize it on the grid. I would never think about doing that. I thought about doing that when I very first got Ableton, and I was like, hey, I can make my music sound perfect. And then immediately I realized it sounded terrible because, all the artifacts in there, all of the issues with just syncing things up. So I can't think of a single reason why anybody would want to do that other than just to have fun on YouTube. Like, hey, let's just quantize something that doesn't belong to be quantized. So, I'm still confused why people would think this is a thing, because this isn't a thing. I've never seen or encountered anybody that says, hey, you guys did a really good job. What I'm going to do now is quantize your entire performance. Like, that doesn't happen. If the band did a good job, you don't need to quantize it. A great example is this punk song I just did. The kid came in with a drum part that was not good enough. The drums were sloppy. And I said, I've got two choices here, Rob. I can fix your drums, which I don't want to do. You don't want me to do. It's going to take a ton of time and it's going to sound weird. Or you can practice and get me a better track. And if you listen to that drum track on the link that I just posted there, you'll notice that, oh, I didn't actually post it. Sorry. There it is. If you listen to that track, you'll notice that there's mistakes on the drums, okay? There's actual mistakes there, and that's fine. I didn't want to fix those mistakes. There were tiny ones that I did want to fix because they were important, but it doesn't suck the life out of things to fix little mistakes. It would suck the life out of something to do this, and I think that what's going on here is people are just demonstrating something. I hope they're really not thinking that this is like a thing that happens, because in my experience, it's not a thing that happens. You don't take that's like taking something that's on the grid, perfectly synchronized, and then saying, oh, let's take it off the grid. I can't see a reason to do that. I'll do it with MIDI very, very slightly just to make things sound more human. But that's how we're starting things off. Now, that was just a comment that Aaron had, but Aaron also had a question, so I'd like to answer that. And he's talking about, he wants to start recording. And he's asking, what would you recommend for a good setup that I won't outgrow too fast? Assuming that he already has a computer and a DAW. So he's talking interface, speakers, mics, keyboard. Let's go through these one by one. Interface. I'll just tell you the interface that I have and I love. I have this PreSonus Studio 192. It was an upgrade from the PreSonus Fire Studio project. Now, this is an 8-track interface, which means I can record 8 different mics or 8 different guitars at the exact same time and have them all on their own track. For somebody like me, that's really important because occasionally I am recording drums. Not so much these days, but in the past and in the future, when you're recording drums, you're going to want to have a lot of microphones. If you're recording a live band in the studio where it's a live drummer and a bassist and a vocalist, if you're doing that all in one room, well, you're going to need mixers and interfaces, maybe, 16 tracks of multi-track interfacing. 8 is plenty for me because I've maxed it out a few times when we're doing live sessions. So the Studio 192, it to me is a very good professional model, but it's not, you can spend way more. I think it's about $800. And if you compare that to some of the other interfaces out there, that's still pretty cheap. You also asked about speakers. So speakers, I'm using KRK5s. I'm not sure the price on them right now. I think I got them for about $150 each, and they have lasted me a very long time. I've had these KRK5s since about 2008, I'm going to assume. That's a long time for a piece of electronic equipment, in my opinion. The KRK5s work fine. It's important. Well, I'll add this at the end. You also asked about microphones. I recommend you stock up on a lot of SM57s or SM57 imitations. Those are nice little dynamic microphones that are very versatile. And I also suggest you do spend as much money as you possibly can, reasonably, on a good condenser microphone. Something that's versatile, that can record vocals, that can record, a violin or a piano. I personally like all the high-end stuff that comes out of a good condenser microphone. That's what I'm speaking into now. And I really like it for vocals as opposed to an SM57. But the good ones are expensive. When it comes to keyboard and controllers, I say go cheap as possible. This is what I use, all right? This is a Behringer. And Behringer's just crap for the most part. Like, everything they make is just a cheap ripoff. And that's great for what I want to do here. This doesn't even make sound. It's probably like $40-$50, but it's my MIDI controller. I can adjust, I can play patches with it. I'm not a piano player, so this is all I need. I've been fortunate enough to know piano players that loan me their equipment, and that's nice to have around too. So I recommend the cheapest controller you can possibly find, unless you're actually a keyboard player. Then you should have a good idea of what you actually want to do. Plugins for mixing and mastering. I'm not going to give you any plugins for mixing. I don't really believe in so many plugins for mixing. The ones, if I did have to recommend, I would think that Neutron is pretty helpful. Neutron is by iZotope, and Nectar is pretty helpful too. That's also by iZotope. Nectar is just for vocals, and Neutron is kind of all around everything. They're kind of sound goodifiers. They add a bunch of stuff to your sounds. They set up an entire chain for you, and that's very helpful. But if you don't have the money, you can do all that stuff all on your own, just with the stock effects in Ableton, and you can get a very, very good approximation. It's just going to take a lot longer to get that approximation. For mastering, I think that my stuff sounded a lot better once I started using Ozone, and I still don't know what I'm doing with Ozone. I'm not going to pretend to know what I'm doing with Ozone mastering, but that's once again by iZotope. And very helpful. I put on a preset, I turn some knobs until I like the way it sounds, and everything sounds better. That's my amateur take on it. So I find those important. I'm not going to advise any other VSTs just for mixing or mastering. There's a few VSTs I would use for production, stuff like Melodyne I think is really helpful. And then you asked anything else critical. That was the last thing. The last critical thing is sound treatment, not sound proofing. Okay? We're not talking about soundproofing everything. We're not talking about living in some cave where nothing can come in and come out. We're talking about having a listening environment that you can actually hear what's actually happening. If you're in a very small square room with concrete walls, then you've got these standing waves that are building up and resonating on certain frequencies. And you might listen to a song and think, wow, I really got to turn down that bass note. And actually the bass note was really quiet. It was just resonating and it made it appear really loud. So if you're in a room that is not treated well, your ears are being lied to. You will literally don't know what you're trying to mix. So any sound treatment is better than none. And this is not a perfectly treated room, but it's better than nothing. Try to find some reflection points, try to put up some soundproofing there, do a little research on acoustic treatment, not soundproofing, and that will go a long time into actually making your listening environment better. But I don't think it matters how good your speakers are. I don't think it matters how good your speakers are if you have a crappy listening environment. If you've got all these standing waves and you've got reverb coming off the place, I think it's just going to be a disaster. So All right, yeah, so Video Spell, if you like that video, yeah, just give those guys some love. Like I said, they're one of my former students. I'll do anything for those guys. They're just, I just like those guys. They just make music. They make fun. And, you wouldn't believe it by listening to that song, but the guitar player can shred. The guitar player is one of my, one of those virtuoso proteges that I had. He can play, he's written 38-minute progressive rock songs in, irrational time signatures. He's that kind of guy. And do you hear the song? He's playing punk rock. He's playing punk rock that's not in a key. So I love that about somebody like that. You can play both sides of it. So that's the first question. Also, it looks like there's not that many questions tonight. That means that you'll all have plenty of opportunity, ample opportunity later when we're done here to ask some questions in the chat. So let's get back up to the top. Jay Gomer is asking, recently you played the chords of E minor and C/E during one of your live streams. I love those two chords. I'll play those two chords all day long. E minor and C/E. But if I'm gonna play those chords, I'm gonna try to sound a little bit more like Leonard Cohen or something. A little bit more disheveled, a little bit more anticipatory. Awesome chords, E minor and C/E. I love it. However, I noticed that I had to change the bass line for the second chord from E to C, but I kept the original chord shape for the second chord in the guitar part. To communicate this clearly to other musicians, should the guitar player just tell the bass player, also me, ignore that slash chord and just play the original root note? So here's the deal. Jay, if I have a bass player around, and let's say everybody calls this chord an E minor/C because they're all guitar players and that's how the guitar players are playing it. If the bass player needs to be playing it as a C on the bass, we're going to call that an E minor/C. We need to let people know that it's all about bass function. So, you could be playing E minor, or you could just be playing C all on its own, right? If I'm just playing C on my own and my bass player comes in, right? We're still playing C/E. We're still playing a C with E on the bass. And if that's important, if that's like a crucial part of the song, it doesn't need to be on the guitar. If it's in the song in whole, yeah, I would write it as C/E. I'd make sure we say C/E, and that way the bass player knows /E. I'm not supposed to play a C on the bass. I'm supposed to play an E. However, I'm a little curious, Jay, because you said I had to change the bass line. I often would want to change a bass line. I can't understand why you would have to change the bass line. So here's what I've set up really quick. Just as a quick little example, here's just a drum beat, okay? And the drum beat's just doing this. And then here are some chords just playing a big E minor. All right? And then here is a C major. And we still have E on the bass, all right? So we're just gonna loop this. And what I'm gonna do, we're gonna listen to just E, only E on the bass. Hold on. E. I think that sounds awesome. I'll do a fifth. So hopefully you can hear that. If you've got some decent speakers, if you're on your cell phone, you probably can't hear these bass notes. But I'm just playing E, and then B, B, E, E. And that to me sounds wonderful. That is a pedaled bass note. It doesn't clash. I mean, it's a little weird, right? If I play it on a guitar in those low voicings, listen, if I play a C/E, that is dissonant. There's dissonance in there. You hear that? But that's not bad. That's not a bad thing, especially in a higher voicing. If I go up an octave, listen to how much of that dissonance goes away. So here's E minor. Here's E minor/C. It's not so dissonant anymore, right? Same chord, just a different octave. So when you're doing kind of dissonant things down low, it gets more dissonant, right? Bassier notes are going to get muddier. So one of these problems you may have been having, Jay, where you thought you had to change the bass is maybe because it was clashing just because everything was so low. So try spreading around maybe your guitar part, maybe try playing a higher voicing for your E minor, and you might realize, oh yeah, I can actually stay on that E the entire time and it doesn't sound bad. But let's listen to it now with the bass changing. Now the bass is going to go E, and then when the C chord comes up, we'll actually play a C. All right, so we're playing E and then C and then E and then C. And then I'll switch back to just E so you can hear that pedaled droning E, which I just think sounds awesome. All right, so here it is, E to C, 3, 4. Now staying on E. That's awesome. And now back. So hopefully you can hear that. I'm not sure if it's coming across all right, but those are two amazing possibilities. I love both of those options. I think they're both absolutely incredible options. And just with two chords, you could make that a verse section and a chorus section. Your verse has the pedaled E, right? So everything on the verse is real slidey, right? E minor, C/E. But then your choruses come in and it's E to an actual C, right? And that's going to be like, oh, we have a real chord change. When that bass moves, it really changes everything. So I love playing around with those pedal chords, Jay, and I experiment you to try going back to keeping it on E and see if you can make it work. See if there's a way that you can actually make it work like that. But hopefully you get the idea that the way to communicate it to other is about like what should be happening on the bass. And if you just use that nomenclature, everybody should get it. Your bass player should know, okay, I need to be playing E on the bass of my C chord here. All right. So next up, Marshall Hampton gave us a really cool resource that I have stumbled across before, Ian Ring's website. So check this out. This is like, there's more information than you possibly could ever want on a single scale here. So this is one on the harmonic minor scale. So look at this. We've got a Tonitz diagram, which I don't even understand. We've got a bracelet diagram. We've got the Carnatic names of it, the Schenkerian names, the unknown names, the cardinal. So this is like the music theory that, I mean, I guess this is a cohematonic. I mean, I don't know this stuff. I'm completely honest. I don't know the prime form of these things. That doesn't mean it's not cool, okay? Music is nothing but math, and these are all mathematical ways to interpret a scale. So I think it's an awesome resource, especially if you have any interest in computer science. I feel like some of this stuff could be very, very helpful into writing algorithmic music. And there's also scale charts down here. So wonderful, amazing, archaic, just grotesque resource here, ianring.com. So thank you to Marshall Hampton for bringing that resource to our attention. Terry Cowvey, pointing out a mistake on my poster. So thank you for pointing out those mistakes on my poster. It seems like that was the only one that people have caught, and that makes me very, very happy. But yeah, that was just a carryover because I did one in A harmonic minor, in which case the sixth note is F. And I also did one in C where the sixth note is A flat, and I forgot to get all my stuff worked out just like that. So yeah, Jay, if you're listening on your phone, those bass notes are probably not going to come across. I find it really hard for any bass notes to come across on a cell phone speaker. So yeah, take a listen back on your giant subwoofers. Next, we got a question, a comment from Wolfie, and he's spotting out that same mistake. So thank you for those things. I really do appreciate that. Last time I released the Ultimate Modal poster, one of my students, Joe Buote, who shows up here in the chat sometimes, wonderful Patreon member, he commented like, wait, shouldn't Locrian be this? And it was like 4:30 in the morning, and I was checking my phone because like I was worried. That was the first product I'd ever released. It was the first time I ever tried selling something, and I was so scared that something was going to be wrong. And sure enough, at 4:30 in the morning, I got the email that something was wrong. So I had to like make new charts at 4 o'clock, and there, some people bought the chart with that mistake on it. So I'd like to avoid that this time. I'd like to avoid 4 a.m. freakouts, and with all of your help, that's going to be pretty easy to find those little typos there. So we'll make an Ultimate Modal poster. We'll get it into your hands for as cheap as I can get it. We'll also do digital versions. versions. We'll do printable versions, and we'll also make extra charts. I know that Jay had mentioned about getting vertical charts instead of horizontal charts for left-handed players as well as right-handed players. So we will get those going. So there's going to be plenty of charts for this next harmonic minor lesson. But this next harmonic minor lesson has been a growing moment for me for sure, because I've done so much homework on it, and it's another one of those topics that made me realize there's a lot of lack of education. There's a lot of confusion in myself, not just like the world, not the world of education, but fortunately, this will be one lesson that I'll only have to do it once, and I think for the next 10 years, people will have a really good resource to go to. Everything will be free. I'm going to be putting out all the charts and stuff like that, not just to my Patreon members. You guys will get the good stuff. You'll get the colored stuff, like the completely colored posters and the free shipping. The public will get black and white charts, and they're not going to get the poster discount, but they'll still get all the resources for free. That way, this is like, a permanent fixture, and people can actually understand the modes of harmonic minor without getting too confused. So hopefully, that's the plan, is that it's not too confusing. So, and I see Video Spell is in the chat saying, loves the new design. It'll be an instant buy. So that new design is from, once again, Steve Ponio. He's the guy that did the Lydian mode and the Phrygian mode on the normal Ultimate Modal poster. I'm visiting him tomorrow with my friend Mike Moogly, and he's probably going to buy some art, but we're going to photograph some of his art. We're going to try to get some of his art for sale. We're going to try to sell some of his prints and split the profits, because he doesn't know about the internet. He doesn't know that the internet is a thing you can sell his artwork on. And his stuff is just so cool. We're going to try to get it on hoodies. We don't expect to make money. We just want to get his art out into the world. So, I literally just took a picture of one of his paintings and made it the background of the Ultimate Modal Harmonic Minor poster, which was way easier than the way I did it before. And it just happened to work out. So he's going to get paid for that. It was a very, very fortuitous little coincidence there. Horizontal scale grid is fine. Yeah, that's cool. What I'll do, though, Jay, I'm glad you liked it. You were talking about vertical as well, and I do like the idea of having 7 on a vertical page, too. I can fit them all in there nice, and it'll be not chord-based. It'll be just for the guitar players. Those Roman numerals are nutty, especially on the harmonic minor stuff. Some people aren't going to care about those. They're just going to want the scale charts. That's fine, so I'm going to have the Ultimate Modal poster for free in black and white, but I'll also just have charts without all that fancy stuff, just the scale charts. And that, I think a lot of people would appreciate that instead. Lusk Luther. Lusk is chiming in with some questions. Some good ones. He says, what is the reason behind making some tonality or chord or note feel like home in songs? Are there songs without a tonality? And what is the significance of having this and not having that? Are there songs without a tonality? Yeah, I would say absolutely. There's songs that are kind of always shifting. Listen to the beginning of my video on God chords. That song has no tonal center. Listen to the video, my commercial for the Ultimate Modal poster. There's no tonal center. It just keeps switching. It's like fireworks. You're just constantly in a new lane. Oh, we're in Paris. Oh, we're in Germany. Oh, we're in a volcano. Oh, we're in space. That's what constantly modulating does. I feel like having a tonal center is, it's pretty common. You're gonna have a hard time finding songs that don't have a tonal center, at least for small periods of time. Why? It's because we like it. We like to have some sense of attachment. We get attached to things, and when we constantly have one note to come back home to, we've talked about in these other streams, we can get away with murder. Here's E on the bass. Here's a C sharp diminished. I'm gonna play some really weird chords. And they're bad chords. But listen. There we go. Like they still resolve to E, because like we had a sense of E. We had E. It was getting distorted. It was getting disturbed. But it was still E. So, we go back to Indian Carnatic music. That it doesn't have a tonal triad as a center. It has just a droning note as a tonal center. And that is consistent. They don't change that. I've never heard of Carnatic music. I mean, I'm not an expert, but I'm pretty sure it stays the same. It's because we like it. That's why. That's why there's a tonal center for most of the time. Let's see here. When do you stop composing a song? How to recognize this in the end of the process? Great question. I stop composing a song when I'm completely out of ideas or when it's done. You know what I mean? If it's already good enough, like if it's not broken, why should I need to fix it? If there's something that feels uncomfortable to me, if there's something I don't like, I always come back to if there's something I don't like, if there's something that feels uncomfortable, if there's something that feels clumsy, it should get stuck in my head. And if my own song isn't getting stuck in my head, it means something's not just right. It means it's not pretty, and it should be pretty to me. So I'm always trying to fix things until they're pretty and until they just feel right. And I don't know how to paint like Steve Ponio paints, like the guy from the Ultimate Modal poster. But I think painters do this too. They just adjust it until it's just right. And I can't understand that visually. I don't get, like, I've tried to draw. It's not good. But I get it with music, like, and it's just, there's probably some theory in there, like, oh, you did an A-B, you did a call and response. But intuitively, I stop writing if I haven't found any gripes, That's if I have that opportunity. Sometimes you don't have that luxury. Sometimes you got to get the song out the door. Different story altogether. Great question, though. How important is it transcribing a song? How important is transcribing a song skill? Okay. How important is transcribing? Okay, that's the question. When you already know how chords sound and functional harmony and other important music theory concepts. When you're trying to become a composer, how important is it to be able to transcribe a song? I would say that if you're a good composer, transcribing a song is going to come naturally. But I think for me, I can't say for sure how much of which one led the other one. As a guitar teacher, my actual job was to figure out music. You have students come in and they go, I want to learn this song. And you hit play and you figure it out and you teach it to them. You can't Google things. I mean, when I started teaching, that's how old I am. When I started teaching things, I couldn't just Google things. And I could, but I didn't have a computer at the studio. It was 2004 when I started teaching and I didn't have a laptop in there. And even then, it's just just felt right to try to figure it out by ear. So a lot of my time has been spent figuring out music by ear. And I feel that doing that has strengthened an insane amount of my concepts. Has it made me a better composer? I don't know. I really don't know. It certainly made me a better musician because when I hear something now, when I hear a composition that influences me, I'm much more likely to know what's going on. When I hear a really cool chord change, I go, oh, wow, they used a major seventh, like the seventh chord, but they built a major triad off the seventh chord, and in that minor tonic, that sounds really cool. I can hear something like that now. I can apply the theory to it. I can not even be around my instrument, and I now have learned something. And now I can take that to my own composition. I'm going to do that thing I learned in that Opeth song. I can do that thing. I learned that Michael Jackson song, because it's in my head now. It's now a concept that I've learned. So yeah, I would say that it's just, I don't see it maybe as a separate skill. It's just kind of like working with music is, it's hearing music is writing music to me. If you're hearing music, you're writing it. You're hearing it in your head and then you're writing it. So if you're not doing a lot of transcribing, Lusk, I would advise you do more of it. Make it a process. Take a song you like and try to figure out some sections of it. Slow it down. I still do that. If it's really, really, really fast, I still have to slow it down. And I think that's totally, totally fine. So, Video Spell saying the star for the chord that can be either major or minor. Very clever. Thank you, Video Spell. Yeah, I didn't know that I wasn't sure how to do that because I think it's important to know that off of some of those chords, you can build multiple triads. Now, they're not spelled correctly, and some people will argue with me, actually, that that triad's not in there. But I'm sorry, if you play those three notes, it's a minor chord, and if you play those three notes, it's a major chord. So I don't give a damn how you spell it. That's a major chord, that's a minor chord. So I think it's worth exploring because the sixth mode of harmonic minor is bizarre territory. You have already decided to trek down some very dark caves that not many people trek down. So while you're there, you might as well explore the fact that you could go major or minor. To say no, it's only a major triad because it's in screw that. That's another one of those dumb rules. We're already breaking the rules here. We're already saying, oh, let's treat harmonic minor like a key. Let's build triads out of it. So if we're going to break the rules, let's break the rules. Let's experiment with major and minor, and in the video that's what we'll do. But I will say that I just think the difference is subtle because it's two shades of very weird. The difference between a major bass tonic of the sixth mode of harmonic minor and a minor bass tonic of the sixth mode of harmonic minor, if you play them for me side by side, I don't think I'll be able to hear oh, you're playing I don't think there's enough signature sound there. I don't think there's enough I can't grasp it, okay? It's really weird stuff, and this is one of the things I'll try to be bringing up in the video, that only a few of these are going to be practical, okay? Are immediately practical, immediately usable. The other ones might take a long time to find the gold in. You might have to dig for many, many years. You might have to write many songs before you find anything cool in the sixth mode of harmonic minor, so... Terry saying you make it sound like I'm 100 years old. No, I'm not that old. Not yet. Hopefully I can make it to 100. But I always get that comment in my YouTubes. I don't know if this guy's 14 or 45. And it's like, I'm clearly not 14. Like, that much that should be obvious. Especially the references, like the band references I make. I'm not making, like, musical references to anything modern. So that should be a dead giveaway, you know? All right, one more from Lusk Luther, and then we can open up questions to the chat. Oh, wait, two more. Just a few more, not too many more. But yeah, get your questions ready if you have some. Lusk was asking, two more from Lusk. He asks, is the melody note typically the highest note played in the chord or the last heard note in the chord, of the chord? If this is the case, where exactly do you use chords and how do you determine this? Example, I write a melody for some lyrics first, then I'm trying to identify the underlying chords and I know the key. So let's kind of simple this down. Is the melody note typically the highest note played in the chord? Yeah, you know, if you're playing on a piano and you're writing on the piano, a lot of times the highest note you're playing ends up being your melody note, you know, and that's what's kind of tracking things. As a fingerstyle player, if I want to play something in fingerstyle, I'm going to be playing chords where the highest note of my chord is being my melody. Here's an example. Greensleeves, all right? Greensleeves is A, C, D, E. We'll do this one in natural minor, because everybody hated the melodic minor version that I like, or the one with the natural sixth, the Dorian version. So we'll do it with an F instead of an F sharp. Right? You hear this melody? Actually, we'll do E major. So, okay, that's my melody. What I can do is I can keep that melody, because that's the melody. A melody is something we sing, right? Da, 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 da. Melody is something we hum. It's something that catches, it stays in your head. It's catchy. This is the melody. Now, let's put the chords underneath that. Da dun 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 da 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 dun dun da da dun 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 da 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 dun. And we'll combine that together on one guitar, right? Ooh. Let's just pretend that was a better performance of Greensleeves. But to get the idea, even with my pick, I can just strum my chord. I can keep my melody on top. This is an option. Now, I could just strum the whole freaking chords and sing my melody on top. Da 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 da. In this case, well, listen, my highest note is E. I'm not singing an E. So, you know, like, what is the function of what are we playing? What are we doing? Are we playing everything on a piano? Well, yeah, maybe you want your melody to be the highest note. But if you're playing a piano and you have a singer, well, maybe your singer should be playing the main prominent note. Maybe you can play notes above that aren't like the melody. Maybe there's extra notes of the chord. So melody is like the thing. It's the iconic thing. But it doesn't have to be the highest thing. It can be buried in. I think a great band to listen to is System of a Down. Listen to how many of the melodies of System of a Down are actually beneath the high harmony, and then the high harmony is coming in as something that almost feels like a melody, but it's like a counter melody. So I really, really enjoy it. And yeah, I think System of a Down is a great example of that. So we'll ask one more question from Lusk is asking, when someone says they're classically trained or they learned classical music, what are the different skills they possess? In my experience, let's talk about classically trained performers, all right? If you're like a classically trained vocalist versus somebody who is, well, not classically trained, you're going to be very familiar with, think about operas, think about playing in an orchestra, think about sight reading, think about performing in a chamber, performance-based stuff. These are the kind of things that, you know, if you're just learning on the streets, and also like the, classically trained, I think of, piano players and anything for an orchestra. That's what I think of when I think of classically trained. If you're talking about a classically trained performer who would one day end up at a symphony or an orchestra, that is classically trained to me. The different skills they're going to possess are mainly to become a complete Turing machine, just input and output of music on the staff. that to me is the big thing. They're not trained so much to write good music or hear good music or analyze good music, but they're enormously trained to process and reproduce music in a way that I have never been able to do, and I never will be able to do. Those are skills that I do not possess. If you ask me to play classical guitar, I'm going to play my watered-down, bastardized version of it. I mean, I can read sheet music very slowly, but I could never make it in an orchestra. I mean, half of the staff text I wouldn't understand. There's just an entire culture of, I would say most of it is sheet music. I would say most of it involves reading things and interpreting those things on a page. That is what classically trained musicians are exponentially better at than anybody else. So that's to me, and I think that's really freaking important when, you have to play in 2 days, there's a symphony in 2 days, and you got to play, and the sheet music gets handed to you. Like, it takes... Think about, a 15-year-old that wants to play that piece, and it takes them, 7 years to perform it. And you give a classically trained performer 2 days, and they're going to do fine. They're going to do fine. That's why they get paid. That's their job. I can't do that stuff. So, it's, I think that's a safe bet. And I if anybody would disagree with me, I would be open to hearing that disagreement, because I don't have a wide range of classically trained colleagues to discuss this with. Yeah. Hope that answers your question, Lusk. We'll move on forward. Terry was asking, and I believe Terry's here. He's asking, what chord is this? A, C, D, F. Now, I can't really play it on my guitar. Let's see here if we can do it here. A, C, D. Oh, God, that is the worst possible keyboard to do that on. Let's see if we can find something that doesn't sound like hell and play this again. Maybe some strings. A, C, D, F. Oh, that's very pretty if you play it on those little high strings. It reminds me of like Mr. Sandman, right? So the community decided to debate about this, as all music theory communities do. D minor 7, A/F major 6. So here's the answer, guys. Context. Context is everything. I would love to see the exact sheet music for something like this, because context is how I would answer this. When I first saw this, okay, the first thing I thought was, this is a D minor 7 chord. That's what I thought. I've got all the notes of a D minor 7. I have a D, I have an F, I have an A, and I have a C. So this is a D minor 7, and there just happens to be an A on the bass. But I don't have enough context to fill this in. If this was, if I'm in the key of C, for example, and if this is coming in something like this, where would he even put it? Maybe there? So if that's where it's coming in here, in that case, I would think of it as like probably an F over D. That's probably what I would think of it as. Because, yeah, I don't know. It just feels like an F chord to me. I mean, so context makes a difference. If there was something really clear, cut, and dry here, I'm just trying to think if there's something I'm missing. Yeah, so like my chord progression here would be 1, 5, 4, 1, 1, 5, 4, 1. That's what I'm hearing. So if we adjusted my 4 to be this, which is an A, an F, an A, a C, and where's my D? Oh, I didn't have the D in there. Oops. Oh, well, that changes anything. Either way, chords can have multiple names. I think context makes all the difference in the world. It could be an F major 6 with an A in the bass. It could be an F with a D in the bass. Yeah. So lots of different things. But if you have a name that kind of conveys the information across more than anything else, those are the kind of names I go for, because there's multiple names for that. And then sometimes it's just like, look at the sheet music. That's going to give you a better idea, especially for things that are on a piano. The voicing matters. Listen to the voicing here. If I play that same voicing differently, if I play I can't do it on, believe it or not, on this keyboard, and I can't do it on there. So, if that was a much spread voicing, it's going to sound completely different. So important to kind of keep that in mind. I don't worry too much of them, but all these answers are correct. That's the good news. You all had good answers, all right? So one last one from Anthony Bianco saying, I like the poster. Awesome. The colors and design are great. Thank you. I'll let Steve know. I wish there could be an 8 by 5 by 11 inch version. We'll do that. So we'll get you an 11 by 8 by 11 version. As far as laminated, so are you talking, Anthony? Do you want it like pre-laminated and you can buy it? That might be a thing. I've never researched that, but we might be able to set up a thing where like that's part of the shop where you can buy that. Or do you just want one you can print out and laminate on your own? I think that would be much cheaper for most people. But yeah, we will totally do it. Yeah, we'll get a short one. We'll get all those. Yeah, we're gonna get you all stocked up on charts here. It's been a long time since I've hooked everybody up with charts, so I'm totally down with that. All right, so that answers the majority of those questions. So let me check back in the chat, take a drink of tea, and see if there's anything I missed. Monster Montage. I find writing my own work down on sheet music gives me a clear visual representation of a song's complexity. I can see where something is a little repetitive or needs a flourish. Absolutely. When I do music on the sheet, I see a lot of symmetries that I don't see before. When I work on a DAW, it's all linear, right? It is one giant, thing from left. Here's the beginning of my song, and then all the way over here is the end of my song. Where on sheet music, we get this advantage of hyper measures. You'll have like measure, 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 measure. And when things are set up staggered like that, you see symmetries that you couldn't see when they're all stretched out on a line. All right, cryptography works like this too. There's little crypto codes where it might seem like gibberish, and all you have to do is set them up into the correct rows of numbers. I was like, oh, I have a message now. It looked like all gibberish because it was one constant line. But if I take every sixth character and create a new carriage line return, like a space indentation or something, a new line, then, now I've got a message. And those kind of things pop up with music too. So I do find an incredible amount of value in visualizing your music on the DAW is very helpful, but also putting it in there. And when I see things like that, I try to work with it. I try to recognize it. And I try to okay, is there something I can do more here? Now that I've found something that I didn't even intend, I see that, on this measure, I did this rhythm. On this measure, I did this rhythm. On this measure, maybe I do a little variation of that rhythm. And then on this measure, I go back to that rhythm. These are things that I care about. And when I learn other people's songs, I see them and I think, oh, you clever bastard. Look what you did. So I want to be that clever bastard. I want to put those little things in my song. And I love that part of it. That might be my favorite part about writing is finding something within what you've already made and recognizing some little beauty, some little glory, and just being like, oh, what if I just do this instead? What if I just do this? I love that stuff. It's it's the last part of composing for me, but it's so enjoyable. So screw the rules. Yep. I think you should learn all the rules. I think it's really important to learn every single rule. Memorize them all. Know them like the back of your hand. And absolutely forget them. Do not be beholden to them at all. I just think I think this goes with everything. Know the rules of the game, and you are encouraged to break them, or you are encouraged to break them at the appropriate times. I think it's more of a conservative approach. As long as I beat Prince Philip. Oh, if I can beat Prince Philip, I'll be a champ. I don't have the life extension technologies, though. I don't have clinicians carrying around bags of my own blood with me everywhere I go. That was an interesting fact that I found out about. This ain't political stuff. This is just, I found out that the royal family literally has a medical team that carries around bags of blood with them at all times so they can constantly get and it makes sense. That's why they're so old. Hey, if I was the Queen of England, I'd want somebody carrying around bags of my blood too. Fresh blood every day. I'm not going to judge the Queen. God bless the Queen. I am happy to answer your questions, Terry and Anthony. All right, well, that's it. That's all the questions I got. So unless you guys got something else, we're going to wrap this one up in record time. This would absolutely be a record short Q&A. I expected, since I missed last week, that there would be a surplus of questions this week. And I was wrong. I thought the flood would break open. But who knows? Maybe because everybody's busy with spring. It's finally warming up. Yeah, that's what it reminds me of, Terry. I remember I used to watch a show when I was a kid called Are You Afraid of the Dark? And it was on Nickelodeon. And it just literally, when I read the news story, I remember thinking of an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark, where they just kept bags of jars of blood in their basement. But I think Lance Armstrong, got caught with that same stuff. I think a lot of those athletes do that blood doping, where they'll I don't know exactly how it works out, but I think they'll have like a high energy workout, and then they'll like extract their blood or something like that, and then they have like highly oxygenated blood, and then in the middle of like a marathon or something, they can dope themselves with highly oxygenated blood that's their own blood, and it's not technically illegal because it's their own blood. So there's a lot of weird stuff that they do these days with medicine, and I think it's absolutely interesting stuff. Oh, Video Spell, you listened to the podcast episode I was on. Yeah. So, well, you probably know now that that is my web guy, Mike, who has just saved me for, the reason that the course has worked for everybody is because of him. I had nothing to do with that. And he's like, hey, do you want to come on my podcast? I'm like, absolutely, I want to come on your podcast. So, yeah, we talked about ALF, which was just, what in the world was wrong with people back then? I hate to be too critical. He told me that like somebody like sent him an email like, you guys just don't get it. You guys just don't get ALF. Like you're way too critical. It's like, okay, to each their own. But yeah, like Goosebumps. Exactly. Can we have a music-free live stream to talk about random shit? Well, you can certainly have one. To be honest, I'm not so enthused about that. I really enjoy doing this kind of stuff. This stuff, to me, is really, really fun. I get to research your guys' questions. I get to prepare some stuff for it. It's all musical-based. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to help you guys with music and stuff like that more than anything else. That's my number one role here. So, yeah, we can talk about, whatever pops up here at the ends here for sure, but I don't plan on doing any like gaming and streaming hangouts. No offense, it's just not something I'd be enthused about. And I try to do the things that I really are enthused about. That seems to give you the best bang for your buck if you can do that. Unless you have to. There's a lot of times I have to do things I'm not enthused about. But if you have the option, go towards the stuff that you're really motivated towards, and you tend to come up with better products that way. Did the poster get talked about? Anthony, yes, the poster did get talked about. We will get you hooked up, man. I got a little bit more work on that, but I'm going to come out with as many versions of that as possible for you Patreon members. So message me if you're talking about getting it pre-laminated, or if you would just like a version you can print out and laminate it at home. But yeah, we're going to get print-out versions of it for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, Video Spell, I'd never seen an episode of ALF either, and I'm glad. Like, I remember hearing about it when I was a kid. Like, we all knew what ALF was, but I just remember, like, I just never saw it. So staring into that was just something else. You know what I mean? 13 Flaws, can you do more lessons on doing the music in the style of? Yes, I cannot wait to do just nothing but production videos when I'm totally out of music theory ideas. Oh, wait, I missed a question. There was a question here I know I missed. Because it reminds me, something just popped up. Where is it? It was from Lizzie. Lizzie, there you are. Lizzie saying, tell us about the collabs you have planned. Well, I really can't. So that's why I got back to this question. But I do have a lot of collabs that are in the cookbooks. I'm just really bad with setting them up on my own because my projects take so freaking long. So I'm working on... let's put it this way. The stuff that I can talk about, Beard Stank is going to be making videos. We're going to get Beard Stank videos soon. So expect Beard Stank videos. I'm going to be producing probably a lot of my own music this year, and I'm probably going to tie that all into YouTube. I am definitely doing a collaboration that involves the melodic minor scale. I'm doing a collaboration that involves metric modulation that I'm really excited about. I have no dates on these. I'm not giving you any dates. I refuse to anymore because I can't tell, but that's all I can say, Lizzie. I'm really excited. I'm just really bad with organizing this kind of stuff. Maybe one day, and it doesn't really help when I'm out here in the Midwest all by myself. I see a lot of these other YouTubers have some close proximity to me, LA, New York. So, maybe one day I'll actually work my way out of the Midwest. So, yeah, so 13 Flaws. Yes, I really want to do more stuff in the style of, I want to do how to write a Fish song, how to write a Tool song, how to write a Metallica song, how to write an Opeth song. I think that would be so freaking fun. Like, I would have so much fun doing that. Like, spending it would take a long time because, spend a lot of time writing a song, and then making a video out of it. But God, it would be a year of making music, and that's like my favorite thing to do is just make music. So I would, 13 Flaws, I could certainly see it happening. I do expect it not happening until a little bit longer term. I do expect my my channel to eventually just turn into let's make music and produce it. I think that's what it's going to turn into. Let's produce. You know, there's Let's Play channels. I think mine's just going to become a Let's Produce channel one day. But it's going to take a little while, so. Video Spell, I agreed with what you said about Japanese music, by the way. They definitely don't phone it in harmonically. No, the J-pop, K-pop, go learn that stuff. And especially, like, oh my God, K-pop is just so perfectly crafted, and I love that stuff. I want to write a K-pop song one day. It'll definitely, I mean, that's hard. I think about, like, oh, it's going to be difficult. I think I'm more scared about writing a K-pop song than I am about writing, like, a progressive rock shred song. Like, I'm not scared of that. I know how to do that. I don't know how to make a song, a K-pop song that, like, billions of teenage girls scream about. You know what I mean? That's tricky, and I would like to give it a try one day. Lizio Originals, yeah, there's plenty of them out there. There's plenty of them out there that nobody's heard. Yeah, well, for one day I'll have 500,000 subscribers, and I'll let you all know right now that for that subscriber special, I'll just spill the beans. What I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare a bunch of music that I've written over forever, and I'm just going to do how your music improved, or how my music improved over 15 years, how my music improved over 60, however long it's been. And we'll just do a live stream that day, and it'll just be people can drop in and say hi, and we'll just start at the beginning. Like, here's snaketechno.mp3. That's the first song I ever produced on my own. I'll probably be able to find stuff before then from, like, that I didn't do on my own. But either way, you know, and then just go through, find all the files that I can possibly find, and then compare them. I think it'll be really, really, really fun for you guys to hear all the disasters I've created. I've created a wealth of disasters and, you know, unfinished stuff as well. So I'm gonna have a lot of homework to do to find all my old files and prepare them. But it should be fun. It should be fun for y'all to see, like, how bad I was, and, you know, how it changes. You know, it just takes time, and how it would have never gotten better if I had stopped when it sucked. You know, it would have never improved if I said, wow, I really suck at this, because I did suck at this. And if I had stopped then, well, that's where it would have been forever. So that's how these things work. Lizio would be a sick band name. I don't think I can do just Lizio. I don't think I can do that. I think I'd have to pick something a little more, less with my name on it. How about that? Still feels a little weird. Maybe change it into something. Maybe add some characters or something like that. How to write a Beatles song. That would be fun. I've got a great friend for that one, too. My friend Colin Berg would be the perfect person to team up on that. He's. I thought I was a Beatles fan. This guy's like, he was in a Beatles cover band, like, and like he dressed the part and looks the part and sounds the part, so. Lizio K-pop, yeah, one day that kind of stuff will exist. But I've got a few pop songs that I've let's see here. I don't think I have anything that I can actually play here. Yeah, none with vocals on it. That's the problem. None of them actually have vocals. I've got a few beats here, but vocals are what pop's all about. So there's really no reason for me to show you something pop related if I don't have vocals. Ever tried, ever failed, no matter, try, fail again. Yeah, I'm going to keep repeating this. If there's anything I can repeat over and over is fail more, get comfortable with failing, get used to failing, start to learn how to love failing. I cannot stress this enough, that this is going to be one of the most important things you can possibly learn in your life, is that you better be failing, and you better be failing a lot. And like, you will, if you can just appreciate it, you'll start to like it a little bit. You'll start to, like, smile when you fail. It'll be like, you know, wah, wah, and you look at the camera, wow, you know, but it's teaching you exactly what to do. And you had to do it sooner or later. Like, you have to fail, so you're getting it out of the way, and you're getting it out of the way now instead of later. It's something I always believed, but as I'm getting older, I'm trying to encourage it more and more and more and more in my own life and others. Anthony Bianco, I watched the thing on Phineas O'Connell, the producer. He has some cool production techniques, like using matches in his sister's songs. What's your take on him? I don't know Phineas O'Connell. I'm sorry, Anthony Bianco. I am more than happy to learn. I don't think I know much about any producers, actually. I think the only producer I have some knowledge on is, like, you know, I can't even remember his name anymore. Jeff Emmerich was the recording engineer for the Beatles, and, you know, the guy. Jeez, how can I not remember his name? The producer for the Beatles. Come on. Producer for Beatles. George Martin. There it is. Good Lord. That's how old I am. I can't remember George Martin's name. So, when I think of producer, that's what I think of. I still think of that as a producer. I don't think of a producer as I make beats. I mean, there's lots of kinds, like, I think of a guy who makes beats as a composer, and that's where I can, a lot of people get pissed off at me. He's not a composer, he's just making beats. Whatever, they're making music, they're composing beats, they're composing music, in my opinion. They're certainly not a classical composer, they can't do that, no. But, a producer is somebody who just produces. They get all the parts together, they figure out what's missing, they get the right part for the job, they fix the lyrics when the lyrics need fixed, they get the right recording engineer for the right job. They're kind of, and they're working with the artist. So that to me is production, and like that's the only producer I've really researched is George Martin because I've admired him so much. So I don't know Phineas O'Connor, but Anthony, if you send me a link, I'm totally, I'm down to check something out like that. I don't have a take. I can't have a take on somebody I've never heard. So Luther, I did, Lizio and the 12 patrons, I like that. Luther, I did answer your questions. They were great questions, by the way. I appreciate all of them, and I answered them as best as I can, so thank you for those. Phineas, okay, yeah. So what Billie Eilish is doing, when I first heard Bury a Friend by Billie Eilish, I heard that, and I was like, this is really cool. That's the first response I had. I thought, I'm really glad this is on the radio. It reminded me of like Gen Z. It reminded me of every Gen Z kid I ever have worked with. It's like, it's clearly not meant for me, but I thought it was really cool. I thought it was really unique. And then all of her other stuff came out, and everything she had come out with, I remember thinking, good, I'm glad this is on the radio. I'm glad we're getting something different. I'm glad we're getting something a little gross. We're getting something unpolished. And I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the whisper vocals. I enjoyed how wrong it was. I mean, it goes to show you, it's like there's no right way to do anything. And I really enjoyed the production quality above all else. I remember listening to those pop songs and thinking, the Billie Eilish stuff, and thinking like, this is cool production. And the fact that it was getting played on the radio, the fact that kids were like, just like, it was the biggest stuff. Billie Eilish is still huge. That made me really happy. Really, really happy. And I don't even listen to Billie Eilish. Like, I don't really like that stuff enough to listen to it more, like analyze it even, like I get it immediately. Once I hear it, it's like, oh, cool. You made a really good choice. And I don't know. That's what I say. I think if Phineas is the guy that's behind all that stuff, then he's done an excellent job. What an incredible vision. What an incredible way to make, a unique sound, to do things your own way, and to just have it dominate, to have it absolutely destroy. So I love it. And as far as I do know, a lot of those songs are recorded in the bedroom, microphone right here. Yes, that's what I want to hear. I'm sick of people saying, oh, if you want to record vocals, you need to, look it up online. Look up recording vocals. You need to get an isolation booth. You need to build an air conditioning isolator. Then you need to have a removable wall. Then you need to have 2 inches, and then you need to sound. Okay, so now we're $18,000 in, and I still haven't recorded vocals. Okay. Meanwhile, this guy's on his bed with his sister next door, right next door. Oh, they're just recording into this microphone. Okay, we just made $1 billion hit song. That's art. Okay, that's what it's supposed to be. I'm just a huge fan of that stuff, even though I'm not a huge fan of the music, so that's hopefully even if you guys don't like the music, you can appreciate the fact that something weird is being piped into the brains of our children, as opposed to something that's just the same garbage, the same cynical, hey, let's do another blank song, let's do another, fill in the blank, another, I don't even know. Jonas Brothers. I think let's come up with another Jonas Brothers. They're not Billie Eilish is not another Jonas Brothers. So, wow, I just ranted about Billie Eilish for a while. Yeah, fire match is cool. You can do anything. I mean, like I said, in my lo-fi video, if you watch my video on producing lo-fi, I went pretty deep. Well, I mean, I used a lot of noises I would never use for music. I used, an elevator sound. I used that awful squeaking sound. I used a drum loop that was terrible. And it worked out great. You can do anything. The first time I heard Billie Eilish was her song Bad Guy in the credits of the movie Brightburn. Sat through the credits just to listen. Yeah. Bad Guy's great. I mean, and I like, there's a lot of things I like about it, but I mean, even harmonically, there's some fun stuff going on there. It's just, let's put it this way. If you know music theory, if you know chords, it's so easy. What's going on there is so simple melodically and chord-wise. What's really unique is everything else. It's the tone and timbre. If you look at all the stuff about composing, okay, you've got, The what note are you playing and when are you playing it? Those are the two big ones. Those are the two most important components. What note am I playing? When am I playing it? There's everything else. And that is so important. There's what am I singing about? How high am I singing it? What does my voice sound like? Is it a male's voice? Is it a female voice? Is it digitized? What is the arrangement? What is the speed? What is the tempo? The tone and the timbre, what are the sounds? And this is all sound. All that Billie Eilish stuff is all about what instrument and why, and like the you know, the whispers and the weird fuzzed out bass and the gain clipping. Like, there's a musical way to do anything. Glitch music. Listen to glitch techno. I mean, it's literally just glitches and it's musical. You know, David Bruce recently did a thing on Stravinsky. Go watch David Bruce's new video on Stravinsky. It's not new. It's maybe 3 weeks old, a month old. David Bruce is the best YouTuber on in music history. He's just the best. And he did a great thing on Stravinsky. And one of the little sections, one of the tiny little things he does in there is demonstrate how to write with dissonance. And he gives like immediately within like a minute, he gives 3 beautiful gems on writing with dissonance. So, and it's all about, you know, rhythm, and you're disregarding notes though. So you know, you can make it a matchstick, you can make it a whisper, you can make it something that, you know, has nothing to do with music and it can still be musical. Anthony Bianco, thanks for joining. You said you have to watch later. Yeah, well, thanks for joining. Take it easy. Some of the greatest records were recorded with the crappiest gear. Yes, but some of the greatest records were also recorded with the greatest gear. So I just want to say neither of these have a monopoly on it. You know, I hate to come across as an elitist on either side. Oh, it's got to be all like with lo-fi analog, or oh, it's got to be all professional. Like, no, there's a time and a place for each, you know. Certain bands, I want to have them in the greatest studio possible. Certain bands, I want to record them in a shed. Like, it's going to get me a better product, you know, and hopefully you can agree with what kind of art would work that way, you know, or you can understand what kind of art would work that way. 13 Flaws, when it comes to production, would love to hear your take and approach to adding the ear candy. For me personally, most of my ear candy is vocal harmonies. I think that's a big one. Layers, extra layers of guitars and stuff like that, little synth layers. Yeah, most of it's just stuff like that. I'm not the mixing ear candy guy. I can't be like, oh, we're gonna, you know, separate the stereo field here, but we're going to dither just the mid side and we're going to have it bounce, and then that way the fade, like, I don't get that deep with it. I wish I could. I'm just not there. You know, I'm not there yet. I think more arrangement than anything else. I did see the Seth Everman parody of Bad Guy. Yeah, Seth Everman's amazing. I think a lot of YouTube music sketch comedy is really lame. When I see sketch, like, music, when I see any comedy skit, this is why I hate Saturday Night Live. Like, this is why I've hated Saturday Night Live for, like, I don't know, 20 years now, because I see so many skits that's like, I could have, like, me and Beardstank could have done, we could have done this. Like, we're not even professional comedians, and we could do a better job. And I see that on YouTube a lot. I see a lot of YouTube sketch comedy. It's like, oh, come on, we could have done a better job. Seth Everman's a different story. He's in K-Mac, too. Like, I can't compete with that. Those guys are, they get my thumbs up, at least. You know, comedy is all personal opinion, so. Simplicity is underrated. It's like haiku or drawing a perfect circle. If you can make something that has an impact with just a few chords, that's impressive. You know, I don't care until after the fact. I don't care how many chords your song has. I don't care anything about your song until I analyze it. You know, and then I might find a different, I might find a different layer of appreciation. But even then, it's just an extra layer of appreciation. I care about how the song makes me feel. I care about how I feel when I'm listening to your song. I care about the thoughts I'm having. I care about what becomes of what happens to me when those frequencies are pumping through my ears. That's what I care about. And then after I've gotten that feeling or whatever, and, you know, and then I start saying, okay, let's look at what I just ate. You know, let's tear apart what I've just eaten here. I might find something extra to appreciate it by. I might say, well, you know, I didn't realize that was, but I don't care. I don't care if it was well recorded. I don't care if, like, you know, with a Dream Theater song, I might analyze and be like, wow, I really like how well produced this is. I like how clean these frequencies are, you know, and that might be part of the reason I liked it. You know, it's like analyzing a meal that you eat and you want to recreate you want to be a good chef, and you think, well, why did I like that meal so much? Well, it had a lot of salt in it, and it had a lot of sugar in it, and it had a lot of fat in it. So when I cook, I'm going to put a lot of sugar and salt and fat in my things. It's like easy analysis, right? But I really don't care if your song is simple or complicated. I don't care at all. I don't, and it took me a while to get there. I will admit, it took me a very long time to get to this point. I feel very old. I feel 100 years old for saying that. It did take me a long time to get to that point, because for a very long time I held that attitude that, if you wrote a one chord song, that was somehow bad, or that you weren't trying. And that was, I think it's actually, I know it sprung from ignorance. It sprung from not understanding what music really is, and mistaking complexity for art, mistaking fast, complex equals art. No, it doesn't at all. It's just another element of art. That's all. All right, folks. Yeah, dither the mid-side. I don't know. Is that even a thing, Video Spell? You probably know better than I do. I still don't even know what dithering is. I'm supposed to know what dithering is, but I don't. So, I missed a question here from Davin. Davin said, you mentioned a while back about things to avoid when writing bass lines, and I think one of them was to not play the third. Ooh, I hope I didn't say that. If the singer was on that note. No, I hope I didn't say that, Davin. It doesn't sound like something I would say. And if I did say it, I'm going to hope that it was just a slip of the tongue. I think the bass is perfectly fine playing thirds. And if the singer's playing that note, I don't see a reason not to. I don't think the bass player should often be starting on a third unless there's a very good reason to it. I think that the third is one of those notes you kind of go to when you're dancing around. You got your root, go to the third root, seventh root, fifth root. The third is one of those notes we kind of go out to, and then we come back home, and then we grab a note and we come back home. But I wouldn't say don't play it. I would think it might sound really weird to play it on the bass on the one beat. If we're coming in on a big G chord and your bass player's coming in on that, like, that might be a little awkward depending on what your song is. So But sorry, Davin, I can't answer that. I don't think it's something. If you can point me to where I may have said it, but it doesn't sound like something that would have come out of my brain unless I was under the influence of some mysterious substance. Sugar, salt, and fat. The 1, 4, 5 chords of food. Absolutely. I don't know much about gastronomy, molecular gastronomy. Isn't that what it's called? But I do know that's the Holy Trinity: fat, sugar, and fat, sugar, and salt. So, dithering is like adding a noise a tiny bit to cancel out a specific kind of digital noise. Yeah, okay, so Video Spell, I tried to learn about it. Like, you're kind of getting back into the stuff. Like, I know that, like, but I still don't know. Like, I'm sorry, it's still too confusing to me. Like, I appreciate it, but it's, one day I'll figure it out if I have to. The third thing was Beato. Beato. I gotta have like a Beato button, or it's just like what is it, like what was Flintstone? Right when the boss gets all mad at Flintstone, I gotta have like a Beato. I gotta have something, because he's got so much experience. Rick's got so much information and so much experience when it comes to so many things. And I just, I'm a teacher who likes to propose multiple ways, and I feel like a lot of people look at everything that Rick says as like, oh, this is the answer now. And I think there's very few things in this world that just have one answer. So either way, I wouldn't agree. It's a very specific thing, though. If you can link it to me, I'm kind of curious, because he might have a point. It might just be me being ignorant. This is why, if you guys sometimes, I get the thing, oh, you're so humble. It's because I've been wrong so many times, okay? It's because I've been like, I know this, and then I realize, oh, God, I don't know this at all. So when you're that wrong, when you fail as many times as I've failed, you kind of learn to, like, back off and assume you're wrong. And I'm fine with that, because I'm wrong a lot. So, he might have a really good point, and I'm curious to find out. Like, and it might be one of those classical harmony things. It might be one of those things that, like, this is taught in common practice harmony, that, your bass shouldn't play a third. So, and I didn't know that. I don't know common practice harmony. But as a rock player, no, don't avoid the third. I don't think that makes sense. Especially the flat third. Oh my God. If I'm playing, oh, that's not my bass. If I'm playing, I'm going to have to do it on a keyboard. I know it sucks. I can't play keyboard, and I certainly can't play bass keyboard. But if I was playing, let's do E. So if I've got a minor third, I've got my G. Why would I want to avoid that minor third? There's my 4, and there's my minor third. Oops. So that's my minor third. I think the third is one of the greatest notes you can possibly hit. Major third happens a lot, especially if you're doing like a boogie woogie kind of thing, like a blues thing. Right? So the third's going to show up in every single time you're doing like a major blues, any kind of a walk-up thing like that. The thirds are going to be all over the place. So I am curious to find out what Rick's talking about. I'm always asking myself that. What's he talking about now? No, I've learned a lot from him. I don't want to act like Rick is wrong. He's just he's got a lot of information, and I think it's just hard to sort through it. That's all, and it's hard to sort through everything. And I think he has a tendency to say things. Like I do. My brain kind of runs ahead of my mouth sometimes, and then something comes out as a fact, and it's not necessarily a fact. So the first, third, and fifth are your bread and butter, so definitely dance around those notes. Yeah, and you know what? I'm really going to add in the flat 7, Terry, on a bass especially, even in major keys. You know, a major key doesn't have a diatonic flat 7, but good God, there is no... If somebody said, okay, you only get 2 notes ever for the bass. That's it. I wouldn't even pick root and fifth. I wouldn't. I would pick root and flat 7. I freaking love the root and the flat 7. You can do it in major keys for some reason, because you're kind of getting a dominant feel. If you're on a major tonic, you're getting a dominant feel. And even with something like a major 7th chord on top, you can still get away with it. And it's like, well, why? Yeah, it clashes, but it's who cares? It grooves. It's got that like dum dum dum. It's a nice dissonance. It's that bluesy rock dissonance. So the flat 7 to me is like my favorite interval, especially when it comes to the bass. In order, I would go root, fifth, and I can't throw the fifth away that easily. Maybe I take it back. I would put fifth and flat 7 on equal footing, and then I would talk about my third, and then I would talk about my second. I think the second is really awesome, and then probably, what comes next? The 4th or the 6th? Probably the 4th, and then the 6th, and then you can do all the color tones in between. You know what I mean? So and Jay's saying it's a bass third thing in beginning bass guitars. Absolutely. If you were just picking up the bass and you say, how do I play a bass line? I'd say literally just play the root. Okay, what's next? Okay, play the root in the 5th. What's next? Play the root in the 3rd and the 5th. Just be careful with the 3rd. I'd say just, be careful because it can add a little too much color when you don't want it to, and it doesn't stabilize a chord. It doesn't support a chord. It's, if you come in on, especially on a 1 beat on those important beats. So, this might be really good information. It might be really good information the way he's, but I wouldn't avoid it. Just, think about a lot of these questions can be answered yourself. Do it and see if you like it. What happens when I play the 3rd on the 1 beat? What happens when I play the 5th? Then just ask yourself, do you like this? Do you not like this? If you like it, then forget everything I said, forget everything Rick Beato said, forget everything Adam Neely said. If you like it, you should do it. That is the bottom line with all this stuff. But hopefully all of his videos and all of my videos are getting you to a spot where you're experimenting with these things. You're not just taking our word for it. You're saying, oh, well, let me try playing a 3rd. Let me try playing a root. Let me try playing a 5th. Because that's where it's going to happen. That's where the magic's going to happen. It's not going to happen from me telling you. It's going to happen from you hearing it and feeling it and knowing, oh, this is what it feels like when I play my root versus my 3rd. I know now when I play my 3rd, I know what that affects, and now I know when to do it. Because that effect is kind of just like, it's kind of like, it's a little jarring, it's not supportive, it's not down here, it's kind of like a little off balance. Now I know that with this one chord, after he screams that note, I want to do that inversion instead. I want to play the 3rd. Because you've identified with it. So experiment with it, Cool. All right. Yeah, does it sound good? Or not even does it sound good, do I like it? And not even that. What is the effect? Categorize it. Put it in your thing. It sounds like shit. Okay, now you've put it in that box, and now anytime you want to sound terrible and you really want to offend people's ears, you can do this thing. There's a lot of ways to offend people's ears, but I like doing that, I like categorizing things and putting them in those little boxes. All right, folks. Well, it's looking like we are out of questions. So unless there's one that pops up here in the last few minutes, we are going to start wrapping things up. And let's see if I can play you something special, something that no one in the world has ever heard before. Well, I'm sure you've heard that sound before. I'm sure you've heard that too. So we are going to look for something secret, something special. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate you dropping in here, asking questions. Everybody here, thank you all for dropping in, as always. We will do this again next week. I don't know how I missed last week. I was like, hey, we're going to stream every week. And then all of a sudden it's Tuesday. I'm like, wait a second. Wasn't I supposed to do this? So, you know, very bad at a lot of things. But what I am good at is talking. That is one thing I am great at. And it has been a lot of fun talking here this evening. So let's see here. Do I have any closing sounds for you? Oh, no, I don't know if I have any closing music here for you. Oh, maybe we can do this. Yeah, we'll have a little closing music here. We're going to have to fade it in, though, right? So we'll have to fade that in. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here on Monday evening, Signals Music Live, as we explore the world of music theory and composition. It's been a great evening. Thank you for joining me. Thanks to Terry Davin, Video Spell Music, Christian Paul, Eric Stark, Tau02, Jay Gomer, Monster Montage, and many more for making tonight's lesson a possibility. Namaste, infinite blessings. Good evening. Stay safe. Stay warm, cold, depending on your climate.